Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every month we deep dive into different aspects of cinema, directors, genres, actors, or franchises. It doesn't matter because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Becky.
And this month we are going through the fine films of film noir. And this week we're talking about
Hollywood Story.
That's right, Hollywood Story. A story about Hollywood.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? This is from 1951. It is directed by William Castle, and it is probably the most stereotypical noir we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah, because the idea is noir films were like The Maltese Falcon or Sunset Boulevard or, you know, big prestige movies, when the reality is noirs were more like this. Really cheap, kind of churned out by the studios. They were generally B pictures for the most part. And Hollywood Story is a very typical noir film, but it's also atypical in the fact that it's actually pretty good.
It's a really good movie.
It is a really good movie, and it's one that you brought to the board because all of Noir Month was your design. So,
a little bit.
Why'd you pick Hollywood Story?
This is a movie that's new to me. I saw this last year. My mom randomly found this. She was like, hey, this is very you. You need to sit down and watch it. And I did, and I'm like, wow, it's like they made a movie for me. They were so generous in 1951.
So generous.
So generous. So I absolutely loved it, and it's a movie about movies. We've done that segment before.
We have, yeah.
And it's just a fun experience to see, you know, the Hollywood system back in the 50s and them talking about the 1920s, like, you know, oh, that's so in the past, but really, you know, they had faces. They didn't need words back then.
Yeah, referencing Sunset Boulevard, which is vital into why this movie exists at all. You know, we've done Sunset Boulevard before.
If we could do Sunset Boulevard like once a week, I'd be game.
As Sunset Boulevard is one of those movies that's very giving on rewatches, but Hollywood Story is kind of the B picture equivalent of what Sunset Boulevard was. It's a movie about kind of like the sad state of affairs and like scandals in the silent era and what it was before.
These falling stars.
These falling stars, right? Like, Singing in the Rain is a very, like, glossy, happy look at it. Sunset Boulevard was the very dark, sad look at it.
Yeah.
And Hollywood Story isn't that canon. It's a dark, sad look at the scandal of kind of, like, the silent era. Because the gist of the movie is about this movie producer who's trying to make a film on this, like, scandalous murder that happened to an old silent director. And as he's trying to do the research and bring all the players together so that he could write the story, the killer also comes out of the woodwork and is trying to kill the producer to keep any new evidence of the murder coming to light. And it's a really, like, bare bones, really, like, tight noir film.
It's very simple, too, because, I mean, the director of this film, you know, that he's, you know, making, this is his first California picture. And it's like they keep trying to, you know, hey, he's been this big guy in New York. He's finally coming to California. He's going to get the California experience.
He's like a theater producer. He's going to finally make his move into moving pictures.
And then it's like, wow, someone's trying to kill me because I'm dredging up the past. I must pursue.
He must pursue, which the beauty of a noir protagonist who does not realize how fucked he is. But yeah, like, the Hollywood Story is just, like, really interesting because it's in that vein. And it is a very interesting concept. I don't know if the execution is all there, though. We are going to get into it. But, you know, before we do, I'm curious. We've done William Castle films before.
We have.
We've talked about him, honestly, more than a few times on the podcast in relation to other directors and filmmakers and things like that. But I'm curious, because I don't think I've ever asked you, what do you think of William Castle as a director? Like, he worked almost on the same budget level as somebody like an Ed Wood or something like that, but his quality was definitely higher than an Ed Wood film.
Oh, definitely. But no, I think he knew what he was doing, and I think the fact that he had that kind of genius with marketing, I think that only elevated him to the next level.
Yeah, because that's like the crux of the William Castle lore, is that he was a very adequate filmmaker. He was almost journeyman like. He knew how to put a picture together. He wasn't going to win Oscars, but he knew how to put butts in seats. He knew how to create buzz. He had like that old Carney in him. And this movie is definitely showing that he was not a great he wasn't Billy Wilder. This is not Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, obviously.
You know, but it's very like adequately
it's
put
pretty
together.
Close.
Sure. But I'm just saying because William Castle to me is like a very adequate filmmaker. This movie isn't very flashy. It's just like really like well put together, but no single part of the movie like, you know, oh, I got to prepare myself. Socks about to be blown away. Like nothing in this movie is really doing that for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I love old Hollywood, so seeing all the locations, seeing, you know, references to movies that I love from the past, silent era, the 50s, you know, yeah, this was a very, you're going to knock the boo socks off.
I see.
And I know with you, it would need, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something pretentious that I would need in this movie.
I am not that pretentious.
So pretentious.
Not even that pretentious.
Maybe if it was a silent film, but made in a foreign country about Hollywood, then you would have been, wow, perfection, Kino.
You mean The Artist?
Yes.
I see.
And it took you years to finally watch that movie after I begged and pleaded with you.
It took a while.
And also, The Artist is not pretentious.
Honey, it's a movie made in the 2000s that's silent and French. It's pretentious.
It won all the Oscars and it deserved all the Oscars.
Pretentious.
Not pretentious at all.
So pretentious. But yeah, Hollywood Story. I guess it's a thing where I can see where you're coming from because the movie it's not as cynical as Sunset Boulevard is because there is definitely like a loving feeling to the silent era where
because I mean, you know, we have the guard who works at the studio and we have that one sequence in the movie where people are coming back, old silent film actors. They've been rehired for this film that our director's working on, and it's not a thing of, you know, wow, look at you, you know, you look like you really, you know, kind of hit the skid since I saw you, you know, in 1929. It's all, I haven't seen you, I'm so excited to see you, how have you been, how's your life been? And it's a nice spin on what we've seen, like with Sunset Boulevard, where she has just kind of been a recluse, or we have friends come to the house and we play cards once a week, and
they're all the old
Hollywood stars.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that is a thing because the style of the movie, and I think this might be what William Castle was going for, because, you know, the movie was greenlit because of the success of Sunset Boulevard, right? And Universal wanted to cash in on that, and they're like, we'll make a B picture that's kind of the same vein. We'll bring the old silent stars back and center it around the silent scandal, right?
Yeah.
But I think William Castle is in the mindset of, well, we don't have to be that sad. Like, these people are like real people. Some of them still work. You know, they're generally like getting along just fine. You know, the one, like, the silent era stars that lived past, you know, the 30s, I'll say, generally just like got to work on television or aged or went into old age fine enough. Like, there's the Norma Desmond type did exist, but it wasn't every silent star.
No, I think the only sad like sequence we get of that is when they show like the old folks home that's like the Hollywood retirement home. And that I'm kind of like, it's kind of like a bittersweet thing because it's like, oh, it's sad, you know, these people were all at the top of their game at one point, but at the same time it's like they're all together, so it's not like, you know, they've been spread out and they're just, you know, kind of mixed with everybody. They have a common hobby. You're like, hey, we were all in this, or I've worked with you at one point, so it's kind of like a familial sort of situation.
Yeah, I mean, it is sad in the sense that you get to see like all these people who the movie is very open about, like, they are all past their prime. They're all old folks kind of like just floating through Hollywood Boulevard trying to hold on to the dreams they once had. But it's never as dark as I think the film could go.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This movie stumbles up to the line of going full, like, dark dregs of Hollywood sadness, but never crosses it.
Yeah, we see it in Sunset Boulevard. In
in the artist.
In the artist, we see, you know, the psyche of it, you know, of this happening and the change and filmmaking and just what am I going to do? Am I going to be, you know, a has-been? Am I going to be forgotten, left behind? So it's like, it's interesting to see in different movies how they go about this change. This, you know, this change will be like, oh, cool, sounds being introduced, but know how it was so important and scary to people that were in the system.
I mean, again, we've talked about it before. We've done Silent Film Month where sound kind of just destroyed a bunch of careers.
And now, you know, in modern day filmmaking, the main argument is AI.
AI, I mean, oh God, that is kind of a very scary comparison, right? Because there was like the old technology and then the new technology came in and it just wiped away everything.
Yeah.
AI is a little different though, because I guess you could make the argument because if AI gets good enough, then you could just make whatever movie your imagination held.
You don't need
right?
to hire anybody.
Yeah, and I guess that's a thing where, I mean, you know, we can get into the, you know what, fuck it. We'll get into the AI debate real quick. 5-minute segment here. But AI...
It won't be 5 minutes.
It won't be 5 minutes. But AI, good or bad for filmmaking? In comparison to like sound, if we're drawing that comparison.
It's a tight line because it has its pros and its cons. I'm going to lean towards Terminator and say it's bad.
Yes, that has been my argument for a long time where why are we fucking with AI? Look at anyone who's ever written on AI in any speculative fiction sense, it all ends up bad. I mean, Skynet, iRobot, Terminator, people.
I mean, you did like some of the images that I was creating with AI today. So we're kind of hypocritical in that sense. But in the broader scope of bringing in AI and just kind of, you don't need actors, you don't need all these people that come together and make a movie. Versus having programmers that can create this. I saw this really cool reel, and it was someone that recreated James Dean in different situations and different outfits, and he's walking and he's moving around. He looks absolutely beautiful. He looks real. And I'm just like, wow. And I was like, nope, that's not him. So it's a little scary that it kind of lulls you in. One of my favorite actors, you know, what could have been, what, you know, roles he could have been in. And it's like, well, no, he wasn't. We can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that because I know there was definitely the talk where somebody was going to sell, I think it's whoever the last like living relative or whatever of James Dean was going to sell his likeness to an AI company so they could make movies with James Dean again because there's enough audio of him and stuff. And there's enough like images that they could literally do a full CGI recreation and just put James Dean and stuff. It's kind of like when they did Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. Yeah. And like that was like really weird and off-putting because it's like, well, yeah, Peter Cushing's there, but Peter Cushing's been dead for fucking 50 years. Like,
yeah. It made more sense like with Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, because some of that she did film and she passed away like halfway through like production or just like so earlier before they filmed like a substantial amount of it. So they kind of like had to work around it. Like that I can get. Yeah. But it is very weird when it's like, you know,
we just want to drop, you know, a major character and it's like this person hasn't been around for like 50 years. I would understand if you wrote this character out of the movie and just, you know, they hadn't met yet or he just wasn't in the scene.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but talking about that with like the whole AI thing and its relation to sound and, you know, the silent film and that is AI could be used to make plenty of stuff. It's the quality I have issue with because I'm doing a thing where I'm rewatching or I'm actually just watching someone for the first time, all the films that ever won Best Picture. Yeah. And I'm going back and some of the early ones, one of them is Broadway Melody. I think it's the second film that won Best Picture. That movie is not good. It is slow as fuck. It's pretty bad. It has no stakes, but it won Best Picture because it was this big Hollywood musical in 1929, 30. And it had, like, a big Technicolor sequence. It was a technical marvel. Yeah. But, like, the quality does not stand the test of time. And I think that would be the end result of a lot of, like, AI-created things that are done by programmers and not artists. Where the substantive stuff of AI just would not stand the test of time if it's just a tool that is making stuff. You need a human behind it to give it meaning and art, and AI is just not to a level that it can do that on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can see using AI to do like filters on cameras and stuff like that, or do like upscaling or whatever, but like,
or turn us into action figures.
Check out our Instagram. Hashtag hypocrites. But like, the thing is with like AI, at least for me, is it can do some stuff, but the idea that you're gonna do AI, write me a 90-minute script. Okay, cool. Now AI, take that 90 minutes script, or the 90-page script you get, put these actors in it, and show me what it'll look like. All right, cool. Now add sound. Now do this. There's no way you're just gonna like start typing away and have a feature film in like a week using ChatGPT. That'll be good. I don't think that's gonna happen. But that's why
maybe you have to do like the ChatGPT premium.
Maybe the premium, maybe. But yeah, like the relation to AI and sound is like, they're both a new technology that's changing the landscape of cinema and all this other stuff, but sound was a far more devastating situation than AI is now. Everyone thinks AI is going to take all the writing jobs and everything like that, when the reality is like, no, sound added to film.
Yeah.
AI is doing something totally different. And it's honestly like at a point where it's not even doing anything good, like film related. And I think, again, it's funny. This movie's made in 1951 before they had fucking cell phones. And we're like, this makes me think of like AI and how AI could never make this movie.
It better not.
It better not, damn it.
Phone, don't be listening.
But yeah, but back to like Hollywood Story, I guess. The whole idea of it, and it being a much kinder look at that boulevard of broken dreams and the silent era and them falling apart, it kind of made me think that the 50s had an obsession with the silent era, because we get Sunset Boulevard, we get this, we get Singing in the Rain. There's a couple of films that are like,
well, that's what we do with the generations. That was something that we were talking about at we were coming home from McDonald's.
Oh yeah,
we were talking about how somebody was saying that movies from the early 2000s, that's where movies peaked.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm starting to see in reels and like TikToks where kids that were born like in the early 2000s, 2010s are saying, man, I wish I was alive for the 90s, the early 2000s, to see, the movies and the music that was coming out. So I think we always have that longing for something that we've been able to experience, much later.
It's almost like in the 80s, there was all the fucking 50s retro diners that popped up because everyone was feeling nostalgic about the 50s and the 80s.
Hell yeah.
And everyone in the 2000s was feeling very nostalgic about the 70s. And now, oh God, how time changes. We are in the 2020s and we're feeling nostalgic about like the 90s now. Sweet Lord.
We are costumes at Spirit Halloween. You go and you see the 90s and it's like, windbreakers and like more modern varsity jackets, and it's like, ouch, I own that.
Get your Jenko jeans up in this bitch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But Hollywood Story is it's a very interesting film because it makes me think of this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, an earmark of a good film that, gets you thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And because the film itself, I said earlier, it has its issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main issues kind of become apparent at the beginning when we get Mr. Thurston Howell III, who is it? Jim Backus starts doing the voiceover, and he's saying, I'm Mitch Davis, and I'm gonna go pick up my friend Larry at the airport, and he's doing all the voiceover in the movie, right? All the like the noir voiceover we're supposed to have, where it's just like, the dame walked into the room, and she came in like the smoke from my cigarette. He's supposed to do all that. One, it's not very noir-y. He's literally just describing what we're seeing on screen. And two, he is in the film for 15 minutes out of this 77-minute movie, and he's not the main character.
No, that's why I would have thought, the protagonist, Richard Conte, should have been the narrator if you wanted to go that route. It's a little odd, but it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, it is a thing, and it's just weird. I wonder why they made the secondary character the voiceover the voiceover guy.
I mean, Jim Backus?
Butkus, I don't know.
Jimmy.
Mr. Howell.
Mr. Howell. He does have a unique voice, so maybe that's what it was. Maybe William Castle liked the sound of his voice and said, "Yeah, you run with it, and you be the narrator."
I mean, he was a voiceover artist. He was a voice of Mr. Magoo.
Yeah.
And he
was also James Dean's dad in Rebel Without a Cause, which would come out 4 years later.
Yeah, I mean, he was not like an unknown quantity.
No.
He was definitely like a respected character actor for a long time. I mean, he was on Gilligan's Island in like the early 60s, and, that show had a lot of success. But it's just strange that they have him do the voiceover instead of Richard Conte, because Richard Conte, who's playing Larry O'Brien, he is the noir protagonist.
Yeah.
He's the guy who gets in way over his head trying to solve a mystery because he has to know, and he's the one who gets, picked up by the femme fatales and the dames, and he's the one who's...
And he gets the dame in the end.
Which is weird. Very... why is there a romantic subplot to this, or an ending to this? Because it feels like it's not really established.
Because it's a noir. We need that romantic... And it's Julie Adams. Come on now.
What do you mean?
Julie Adams? You don't know where she's from?
No.
Creature from the Black Lagoon?
Is she the girl from
Yes.
Wow. This is before Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah. Creature was 56?
I think it's 54, but besides the point, I wondered why she looked familiar.
When I first watched it, I'm like, I know you, and it's driving me crazy. So I had to look her up, and I was like, oh my god, that's her. 54, you were right.
God damn, I'm so fucking good at this game. Hold my beer. But yeah, it's just really weird that the movie decides to structure it like that, where we don't have Richard Conte doing the voiceover, we have Jim Butkus doing it. And then even with that, we have the film has no frills about like setup. We get right into the mystery and the scandal.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Mitch picks up Larry from the airport. I like it. Mitch and Larry. Fucking two working class stooges trying to make moving pictures.
They went to college together.
They're
from the East Coast.
Yeah, and he picks up Larry from the airport. They go to the studio to be like, okay, well, I bought this studio for you because I'm your agent and you're going to make pictures here.
Well, yeah, that's something you should establish. Mitch is a talent agent.
Yeah.
And since he lives in California and Larry's coming out to do his first picture, Mitch has rented Larry a studio, a house, a car. He's like, hey, I've got everything set up for you. I'll take you to your house so you can, go freshen up, relax. And he's like, I want to go straight to the studio. Yeah. Larry's here on a mission.
Larry wants to make his moving pictures because the context I got is that he was a theater producer on the East Coast, and then he's coming to Hollywood to make movies. And once he shows up, they take him right to the studio. And the studio we've actually been to before.
We have. We were there not recently. We were there last year.
Yeah, like late last year, maybe around like November, December. But it was because they're going to Chaplin Studios.
Yes.
Which is really surreal because the old security guard there starts, talking. He's like, yeah, they used to make all the best pictures back here during the silent era. And he's pointing out like these spots in the studio where, wait a minute, I think he's actually calling out shit that was filmed at Chaplin Studios. And it's really so surreal because it's almost like that pro wrestling thing where, when you're cutting a promo on somebody in pro wrestling, the first thing you say is true, the second thing you say is true, and the third thing you say is total bullshit. And that's what the pro wrestling is. You're supposed to like meld the reality and the fakery of it all to like make people believe in it and believe in you and da-da-da-da-da. But that's what the movie's doing when it's at this actual studio and they're pointing at the bungalow, and the bungalow is like, we saw that. Like, I've seen that building.
You have seen that with your own eyes. We have walked up to those gates. We have walked up to that guard shack.
Yeah.
That's where that picture of Charlie Chaplin's painted on the very front of the studio. We have gone right up to that. We have just almost been on that studio lot.
Yeah, and it's the thing where it's like it's a real studio and it feels like it. It's laid out like that, but they get to the bungalow.
Yeah.
And we spend like fucking 10 minutes in this bungalow as the guards laying out the mystery.
Yeah.
And the mystery is like
it's a real mystery. I mean, the names are obviously different, but it is a real mystery that happened in Hollywood that still hasn't been solved till this day.
Yeah, and it was the murder of William Desmond Taylor. I have him written down. He was a silent era director. He was not shot on like Chaplin Studios lot or whatever. He was shot in a bungalow that was, I think, in La Brea or something like that.
I mean, of this time, studios were like basically every other building in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So we could do probably more research into it to figure out, you know, what studio it was, but it did ruin the careers of Mabel Normand and Mary Miles Minter. And to drag it back to, you know, where we are in the movie, Mabel Normand worked with Charlie Chaplin in the beginning of his career. Yeah. So it's like, you know, once we see all these circles and everyone that's kind of involved in this murder that's in the movie, it makes it more realistic to what happened in real life with this murder.
It's it's the same thing where it's like if
it's so meta.
It's so meta. If A is true and B is true and C is bullshit, it equals money, paychecks in the bank. Because, you know, the William Desmond Taylor thing, because I guess we can talk a little Hollywood true crime scandal and the plot of the movie, because the plot of the movie is literally just ripping this true crime scandal and fictionalizing it so we can like have a plot of the movie, right? So William Desmond Taylor, to my understanding, I did very, very minor research on this. This is about 5 or 10 minutes on Wikipedia, so I'm an expert. He was a silent era director. This is in 1922-ish. He is chilling at his bungalow. Somebody comes into his place, shoots him dead, and he gets robbed. They steal some stuff, but he still has like plenty of money on him. So they're like, this is a staged robbery. And the people that saw him last, I think, were like Mabel Normand and somebody else. But there's like this murderer's row of silent era stars and producers and directors that all had like issues with this guy that wanted him dead.
Let me interject.
Oh, do you have the...
I have it. He was killed in a bungalow, but it was an apartment bungalow. It wasn't like, you know...
A studio bungalow.
A studio bungalow. So something similar kind of like at the Chateau Marmont. You know, so it was an apartment in Westlake.
Oh, okay.
It was the Alvarado Court Apartments. I'm sure those probably don't exist anymore. But if they do, give us a shout out. Hey, you know, something really huge happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, died of a stomach hemorrhage. Ooh, so he's shot in the gut.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He was shot in the gut, and then I think a doctor showed up, pronounced that he had like an ulcer explode, and then that doctor just fucking disappeared. So they're like, was he,
as you do,
the guy that shot him, and he just like did that so he would bleed out or whatever? But there's a lot of mystery and scandal to it. But it's the same gist as what happens in the movie, because in the movie it is Ferrara, I think is the director.
Ferraro, I think.
Ferraro.
Let me see. I'd have to get back to my...
You have so many tabs opened.
And they're all relevant.
So many tabs.
They're all relevant to what I'm doing in life right now.
But yeah, so the director, he gets shot and they get away. Big mystery. And this happens in like 1929 in the context of the movie. And then 22 years later, that's when they show up and the security guard lays it all out for them.
And he does it through, I mean, again, this is a movie, so we have to, you know, we really have to show up when we're showing a story. It's all these beautiful pictures that are on the walls of Ferraro's bungalow. It's all these old headshots that have been personalized and signed to him. And
this is Valentino.
And you have Larry that's kind of, you know, just cleaning them off with his handkerchief. And he's like, oh, yes, there's Valentino. And there's this actress. She was the star of, you know.
There's Therabeau.
Yeah. And it's just like, wow. I mean, to be, you know, in the 50s of that time and, you know, watching silent films, but I know that person from that movie, that would have been like one of the best Easter eggs, apart from when we get the actual silent film characters that show up to the studio again.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're not going to go through the whole plot of the movie. One, because it's an hour long. You guys can find this on YouTube. You're fine.
It's free on YouTube. It's an hour 17, so It's a fast movie.
Yeah, so the whole thing is we get the plot of the movie, or the plot of the murder laid out. And Larry hears this, you know, now that they bought the studio, and he's like, that's going to make a great fucking story for my movie.
And Mitch is like, really? This is what you want to make your story on? The Franklin Ferrara murder? I found the name.
Finally.
And he's just like, yeah, it's true crime. It's interesting. You have all the players that are still local to this area.
Most of them are still alive.
So it's like, why not?
And I think that's the part that gets interesting, right? Because it is a mystery, and we're supposed to, who's the killer? Who did it? Oh, and because he starts investigating, somebody takes a shot at him, so he's like, oh, the killer's back. Somebody doesn't want me to uncover the truth of what happened to Ferrara.
We have, this portrait of this beautiful woman that we have yet to see, and then suddenly she appears in the bungalow, and it's like, how could you still be young?
And it's because it's the actress's daughter who's come back because she heard you were going to make a movie about this. And, I have to go and
it ruined my mother's career. My mother finally found happiness, and you're dragging her through the mud again.
Exactly. And, you brought the Ferrara's old writing partner back to go write this script for you, and he's a drunk has-been who hasn't worked since the silent era? Oh, no. And then it turns out that your financial backer was also the manager for Ferrara when he was murdered? My God. And also like 15 other actors show up in this movie, and all of them wanted him fucking dead.
See, this is why this should be like one of your favorite movies. Conspiracy on top of conspiracy. You love a good conspiracy.
I fucking do love a good conspiracy. Oh Lord, I love a good conspiracy theory. And I think that's the thing, the movie is setting up this mystery that is going to get unraveled as we go through, and it is a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be. Because again, this is a B picture, and people have this concept that B pictures meant like bad pictures.
No.
Most B pictures were just, we're gonna sell you Sunset Boulevard, and then here's the B picture that goes with it, where it has a little bit less of a budget, has a little bit lesser stars, but it will play the other side of a double bill.
It'll keep butts in seats.
It'll keep butts in seats, right? So B pictures were generally like shorter, like genre flicks, westerns. There were a lot of B picture westerns, a lot of B picture horror films, a lot of B picture noir films,
and those are sometimes the best movies.
A lot of them hold up better than you think they do. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some that are trash.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of them are trash, but it's a thing where like B pictures generally were made by really solid studio guys who were not going to get paid to make Gone with the Wind, but they were like, they're still solid. We can give him kind of any script. He's going to make it in like 3 weeks, and it'll come in under budget. Those were B pictures. Studio projects that were churned out on an assembly line for a product, right?
Yeah.
And not a lot of them are special, but this one has a little bit of that fucking Hollywood magic in it that is kind of hard to describe, because it kind of just grooves along, where we're getting a little bit of mystery, a little bit of intrigue. That black and white cinematography holds up really fucking well.
We're traveling through the streets of Hollywood.
We are traveling through the streets of Hollywood.
We're seeing things that don't exist anymore. We're seeing things that do exist. It just makes it feel more real. Like this story, I mean, technically, it is a real story. The names are different. But it makes it feel more real because you can actually go to these places.
I have a thing I want to actually talk about, on the movie, right? Because the movie, like the magic of this movie specifically is that it's trying to blend a lot of reality with a lot of fiction right now, because they credit Ferrara as like, yeah, he was a director of great silent pictures, including
The Phantom of the Opera.
The Phantom of the Opera, which if you look into it,
he was not.
He was not. Fucking no. But William Castle figured correctly that in 1951, no one's going to know who the fuck directed Phantom of the Opera.
No, there's no Google.
There's no Google, but Phantom of the Opera is a real movie, and they show the clip of the movie, and it's like, the movie is playing with enough reality and melding it with enough fakery to make you buy into the magic trick. Yeah. And I have this question. What are your thoughts on these based on true story style films?
I love them.
Okay, now I get that for stuff like, where it's like, oh, this like Sully or whatever. Oh, there was a Miracle in the Hudson or whatever. But what about stuff like Dahmer? where it's like, oh, this was like a really grisly murder and somebody died, and now you're kind of basing this fictional story on it.
Yeah,
This is more in line with like that.
Like, hello, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries based on, you're like, oh, what? And then he was never found. What?
I love how you go to Unsolved Mysteries, and everyone remembers, like, yeah, Unsolved Mysteries helped capture serial killers. Bro, 90% of Unsolved Mysteries was about aliens and werewolves, all right?
Valid.
Most of Unsolved Mysteries was ridiculous shit.
You know, the truth is out there.
I do love me some X-Files.
That's why it's like, you know, you're talking an awful lot of shit when I know you love the
X-Files. X-Files is fictional.
Is it, though?
It's so fictional. So fictional. But yeah. I guess I just want to know your thoughts on this.
I mean, you should know that already. I love, you know, based on stories. Especially when it comes to horror, scares the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm trying to think of one. Let's see, what was it? Was it The Conjuring?
Yeah. The Conjuring is quote-unquote based on a real story, depending on how you want to believe Ed and Lorraine Warren, but yeah.
But it's like, I saw that broad daylight, scared the crap out of me. I haven't been able to watch it ever since. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I love based on true stories. And with this movie, it's like, it's the right blend of things to make me happy. Old Hollywood, you have true crime in there, you have noir in there, you have old Hollywood actors. Mm. It's, you know, it's the magic drink for Boo.
It's the thing where you're like, there's enough stuff in here you like, it kind of doesn't matter what comes short on it. There's just so much good going on.
So much.
Okay, well, I guess my question is there anything in the movie that doesn't really work for you?
Definitely the voiceover. I don't think we need it. Or if, you know, he wanted to keep with it, it should have been throughout the movie.
Yeah, but it disappears like pretty immediately.
Yeah, it does. And it's like, it should be Larry. Mm. It should be Larry. You know, this way we're hearing his internal monologue as the movie progresses. But other than that, no, I'm pretty satisfied with the movie as it is.
Really? Because I know... Because, what is it? We talked about the girl who shows up, and she's the daughter of the great actress. Julie Adams, right? The romance angle between her and Larry Conte is so quick, to my opinion. Like, I don't feel like they have a romance developing.
Well, I mean, come on. We talked about that in the Maltese Falcon last week.
And we agreed that was the weekest part of that movie.
Exactly. I mean, at least with this, you could tell there's a little bit of the spark, and we're not getting the, you know, okay, sweetheart, and let me tell you, oh, okay, baby, how you doing? You know, we're not getting any of that. It's just more of the, stop doing this. You're pissing off, you know, my mom. You're pissing off my dad. But you're kind of cute, though. But I got to get out of here.
It's one of those things where it's like, she is definitely the femme fatale archetype developed from Maltese Falcon, but
it's like you could see
he's not playing the noir-y detective.
No, but you could still see that there's something brewing underneath, you know, when they're in the room with each other. It's like, you know, there's no baby talk, there's no this, there's no that, but it's like you could tell that chemistry is there. So it's like, so the relationship kind of does spring out of nowhere, but we're still going with old noir where it's like, could die tomorrow, may as well get together today.
I just love how the end of the movie is just like, and then they got married and lived happily ever after. And I'm like,
because it's a happy story.
A happy story.
The murder's solved. They found love. The end.
Yes. I guess we don't have to reveal who the killer is, because it's a mystery, you know.
We like to be mysterious.
So mysterious. But did you figure out who the killer was before the end?
When I first watched it, no.
Okay. Me neither, but there was definitely a point in the movie where I was like, okay, if the fucking killer is just random guy number 4, I'm going to be so pissed.
Yeah, and like, you know, I had a feeling of who it was, but the twist on it, that's what it went over my head. But I was kind of like, you're being very sus. There's something wrong with you. And I think they do it.
You're a little too nice, and you're a little bit too chill, and you kind of fade into the background a little too much.
But I like that William Castle, or whoever wrote the film, you know, has those moments where it could be anybody, and we get that, you know, kind of that grand reveal, and it's like, I could have done it, but I didn't.
The whodunit aspect of it is actually pretty well executed. I'm actually honestly impressed with the writing of this for what they probably knew was not going to be an expensive movie.
Yeah.
And they leaned very heavily on making a really engaging whodunit mystery. And it's the thing where it's like the reveal is like, oh, who did it? His long lost brother. But who was his brother? Well, that's where the mystery comes in. Because it might actually be his sister, dun dun dun, or his brother,
or the nephew, the nephew's best friend, sister, exchange student, pen pal.
Yeah, because it doesn't get into the context of like Maltese Falcon, where it gets a little convoluted when he has to explain it all. It leans more into we knew who the killer was all along, and now we have to kind of like backwards compatibility make it work.
But we do have the stuff that dreams are made of.
We do have the stuff dreams are made of.
Because it's the studio.
It is the studio. I do really love the ending and how it's shot, about how they kill the killer and the killer dies the exact same way he killed his brother before.
I wish I could have seen you reacting to this movie, because he was like, fuck yeah. It just happened.
It just fucking happened.
It happened the way that originally happened.
I love that shit in movies where you get the callbacks to the beginning, and I love when the first frame matches the last frame. I'm like, oh, that's the fucking shit dreams are made of. That's fucking money, baby. Right fucking there. The Searchers is a gold mine for that shit.
Searchers is a good movie.
The Searchers is a very good movie. Again, I would love to go back and do a bunch of like Western movies and all that
I'm
old
sure
genre
we will.
stuff. We'll do the entire filmography of
John Ford.
John Ford, but only the Westerns and only the sound movies. So we only have to do 30 movies.
We could do that on a weekend.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, like I really do like how the movie develops and feels. I think that's a thing. I like how noir movies feel. You know, they're a little bit dark, they're a little bit seedy, they're a little bit scummy, but because they're made generally during this studio era, there's that kind of touch of that, what is it, that movie magic on there where it's just like, fuck, but it looks so cool. This, like, every noir movie I've seen, it looks fucking cool.
You know, I love noir movies, and I haven't seen all of them. I've seen, you know, a fair amount. I'm trying to remember, is this our first noir Christmas?
Oh yeah, because it's taking place during Christmas.
We get the Hollywood parade.
Weird.
And we still have the Hollywood parade.
We do. Is it weird to see Christmas in California portrayed on screen?
I'm wondering if this is maybe something that Damien Chazelle had inspiration for La La Land.
No, 100% he got that from Lethal Weapon.
Could have.
Or Die Hard.
Well, because I mean, it kind of, those two scenes, if you put them side by side, I would never have thought that this is Christmas time in Hollywood.
No. But the Christmas stuff almost seems incidental, too, because it doesn't really come up in the plot of the movie.
No, it's just...
set dressing?
Set dressing, but also an escape for Julie Adams when she's trying to get away from Larry.
Yeah. I also love how you can so tell the parade is some stock footage, and then they're filming against a wall with a bunch of extras. Yeah. But, I'm like, Ed Wood, his breed is still kicking through all these films.
But maybe one of these years we should go to the Hollywood Parade.
I'd be down. We'll post it on Instagram. Everyone follow us on Instagram when we go to the Hollywood Parade.
We'll go to Amoeba first, and then we'll go to the Hollywood Parade.
We'll stream at Amoeba, showing you all the cool movies we find.
And then maybe we'll go to the Roosevelt again, because again, our anniversary was last week in relation to this. So, yeah, we hung out at the Roosevelt Hotel, just like our characters did in this movie.
Totally intentional. Doing research for the podcast.
Dean had no idea.
Not a fucking clue.
But it was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
And it hasn't really changed. So, like I said, being able to live here in LA and go to some of these places, it makes these movies feel more real.
It does, and I think that goes to this movie's benefit. I don't know how much juice you would get out of this if you lived somewhere like St. Louis or Chicago or something, where you don't have the whole thing where you're like, oh yeah, the Roosevelt is a real hotel. Oh, I've been in that building. Oh, Jazz Chaplin Studios. I've driven by there. I've seen that gate. There's a lot of this movie where knowing the history, knowing the world it's taking place in, feeds so much into it, even more than I think Sunset Boulevard, because Sunset Boulevard is a very much more dreamy and kind of like
we're also in
abstract.
Norma's house a lot.
We're in Norma's house a lot. You know, this really does feel like it is oozing that old Hollywood stuff. It's literally showing like this is the Hollywood of 1950s, but all that old silent era stuff that this city was built on is still oozing and standing in the shadows.
I mean, you see it even when anyone's leaving the studio. And you get out onto that main road and you see some of the houses. Some of those houses are still standing.
Yes.
I mean, you have, businesses that have bought out some of the other homes that are in the area, but
the strip club across the street.
Yeah, the strip club, the 7-Eleven that's on the other side of the studio. But it's like you're able to see some of those houses and they're still standing. Granted, they're vacant. Who knows if they'll just stay there, they'll get knocked down, but it's like, yeah, you're still breathing in that old Hollywood history, and who knows who lived across the street from the studio, if it was just kind of built for like set hands, writers, producers.
Or the orange groves that were built all around the studio.
The orange groves that, surrounded Hollywood. It's just, it's surreal when you're watching it and just knowing that, this is a real place. This isn't a soundstage.
Yeah.
Even when we get the soundstage and it's just like, but we were just there, but now we're here.
It is so fucking weird how they recreate the bungalow on the soundstage. And it's just like, yeah, we're recreating your office, Larry. Yeah. We're just recreating your office on the soundstage and it's going to look the exact same. And I'm like, why can't you just shoot inside his fucking office? For God's sakes, you would save so much money.
Well, you need your office space and then you need your set space. You can't, you can't mix and match the two.
I guess we can't cross-pollinate like that.
We can't.
But yeah, I guess, back to the question. Do you think if somebody not steeped in that LA history or culture or whatever would get the same enjoyment out of this that you did?
Probably not. It's probably like a specialty group where it's, people that love noir history, Hollywood history, people that just love this shit like I do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, anyone could enjoy this movie. It keeps you entertained. There's no real lulls in it. But it is a specialty kind of movie where it's just, I've either seen these places, been to these places, or dreamed of going to these places. And with this movie, you are taking me on a tour of Hollywood. And if I want to plan it out and go out there, I can do that.
This is a great movie to put in with like we've said before, Singing in the Rain, La La Land,
Sunset
Boulevard, even like Babylon and
Once
stuff like that.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Movies that really are in love with an era of Hollywood and the city of Hollywood. This is in that category. And it's very interesting to see that from a movie like this, where it's so low budget and it's done in like the 50s studio era, where it was like a cash-in movie, but there's a lot of like heart to it that shouldn't be there.
It was interesting, like, to take it back to the parade when I keep wanting to just call her Julie Adams. It's like that's not her character's name. Sally.
Yeah.
Sally Russo. When Sally's trying to escape Larry in the crowd at the parade. And you see people that are there that are just watching the parade, they're walking home, they're shopping. It's so different to see that because it's just, a normal city street. This Hollywood is, where people live. And to see it in modern day when we were walking down those streets, and it's pretty much nothing but tourists. You have people that are out there for tours. And we kept getting, trying to get recruited to go on tours. And we eventually had to tell people, we're from here. And right off the bat,
you told them that. I just kept walking.
And they were like, oh, okay, sorry. And it's just, it makes you think of that time where, this was just A, where people worked, and B, people's homes. And now it's such a tourist trap.
Yeah.
That it kind of loses a little bit of that specialness that it used to have.
I mean, we can talk a lot about how the image of Hollywood and the reality of Hollywood are drastically different. The reality of Hollywood Boulevard is it's kind of a shithole.
Yeah, I mean, I was really
and the
disappointed.
Dream of it is it's like Sunset Boulevard, and we're walking the streets of Hollywood.
The streets are paved with gold. There's stars on every corner, and it's just I mean, there were so many smoke shops and
a lot of, like, homeless people. There were scammers. There were people trying to sell you like kitschy bullshit. There were weird kids trying to harass people for YouTube videos.
Oh, that was great. You're like, I will run a train through you, and the guy backed off.
I didn't say that. But it's the thing where the reality of Hollywood now is just not nearly as idealistic as maybe it once was. I don't even believe that Hollywood was ever this idealistic.
It never was. It's always been that dream, that fantasy, but it's getting smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of the places that we did stop at because, they had meaning to us. They had meaning to old Hollywood. That's what made the trip there special when we went. But it's just kind of sad to see Hollywood not really Hollywood.
But with that, I gotta ask you, because it's the theme of the month. It's the question of the month.
I told you I wouldn't answer that question until the end of the month.
I know, but I want to hear your developing thoughts as we go through it. So we talked about Maltese Falcon last week. Maltese Falcon, the birth of the Hollywood noir, right? Now, the Maltese Falcon laid the groundwork as which all noirs are going to be measured to from here on out, yada, yada, yada. But Hollywood Story is a more by the numbers what the studios pumped out as noirs for a decade plus.
Yeah.
Is it a genre that is easily repeatable, or is it a film movement? Because I'm still in the mindset that I'm almost changing my mind, because the movement idea is because we're in this state of America and the culture just being a much darker, sadder place. A lot of like foreign influences of German expressionism entering Hollywood, and us telling darker, cynical stories, anti-hero stories, the thing where Hollywood films could have sad, downtrodden, beaten down endings. And this movie has a lot of the genre trappings of noirs, the harsh lightings, the mysteries, the femme fatales, but it totally just rips out the sad melancholy that noir films generally have, which is very strange to me. But you're developing thoughts.
I'll answer that next week.
I see. So, next week then.
Next week we have a date.
We do. What are we talking about next week?
If these two movies were for me, this last film of our noir month is All for Dean.
Yes, it is.
I feel like I'll maybe talk about 5-6 minutes next week.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I understand. You've been waiting for this moment. You ready for your close-up?
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille.
We're talking about Chinatown.
That's right. We're talking about Chinatown, directed by Roman Polanski, starring Jack Nicholson, Faye Dunaway. It is arguably one of, if not the greatest screenplays ever made. It's arguably one of, if not the greatest new film noirs ever made. It's arguably, if not one of the greatest films ever made of the new Hollywood era. It is an amazing piece of cinema. I've seen this movie a dozen times. I love it. And before I forget, the guy who made it, scumbag and monster.
Oh, absolutely.
If you want to know our thoughts about that, wait till next week. But the thoughts on the movie for Chinatown, I so fucking love Chinatown.
And I mean, we've had this, discussion before when we've talked about
Annie Hall,
where we have to separate the art from the artist. And we will try to do that to the best of our ability, so we don't talk about that asshole too much. We talk about the beauty of the film.
Yes, and the undeniable impact he has had on the making of the film, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But I'm just so excited to talk about Chinatown. I've seen that movie a bunch of times. I so fucking dig that movie. How many times have you seen it before?
I've only seen it once.
You've only seen Chinatown once?
And it's been a long time, so it's going to be an experience.
How long are we talking here? Please tell me that means a year?
No, probably before we started dating.
Fuck, that was 11 years ago.
I know.
Fucking Christ.
Last year when they were showing it at the Frida, I was trying to go and you said, no, can't do it. Let's do something else instead. So you robbed me of that experience.
Fucking lies.
I blame you.
Slanderous lies.
I blame you.
But yeah, I'm very excited to talk about Chinatown next week. But if you wanted to listen to that episode, where can they go?
If you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and our YouTube channel.
You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe to the video versions of this podcast, which might be getting some new added stuff coming soon.
Ooh.
And you can also go to the YouTube channel Felix on Mars to see the film projects that we participate in, the films that I've made, we've made, that the collaborators on this podcast have made. And you can go and leave a like and subscribe and a comment there. And if you wanted to follow us on our social media, you can go to
The Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post upcoming episodes, guest episodes, adventures that we go on, like when we go to Hollywood and go to these iconic locations that just happen to be in movies that we are talking about and reviewing.
And with that,
we'll see you next week at the Film Club.
Have a good week, everybody. Oh, also for anybody who's staying over, changing this recording setup, so if it sounds strange, sorry, but working on it. Have a great day.